In the 1990s, mainstream hip-hop was dominated by artists from the East and West Coast of the US. From DJ Kool Herc, Run DMC, and Biggie Smalls, to DJ Yella, Bone Thugs, and Tupac. If you were a fan of hip-hop during this time period, then it's almost a guarantee that you'd be listening exclusively to artists who hailed from either New York or California. Throughout the 90s, Southern hip-hop would go on to be all but ignored, often being reflexively dismissed as anti-intellectual or unsophisticated. During this time, the Source magazine was widely regarded as the hip-hop Bible, often rating albums on a 1 to 5 mic scale, with 5 being a perfect score. Over the years, the magazine bestowed a 5 mic rating on 45 different occasions, with only 2 Southern artists ever being rewarded such an honor, those artists being Outkast from Atlanta and Scarface from Houston. The city of Memphis has been a hotbed for artistic innovation spanning multiple decades. The city is home to a host of pioneers of American music genres, ranging from Memphis soul to rockabilly music. It's also ranked as one of the most dangerous cities in the United States, with the second highest homicide rate of any US metro area. This prevalence of violence was reflected in the Memphis hip-hop scene so heavily that it spawned a deluge of conspiracy theories. The dark and distorted otherworldly tones, combined with horror film samples, led some listeners to conclude that the music contained demonic energy or hidden gateways to hell. In the early 90s, Memphis-based hip-hop artists like Tommy Wright III would begin crafting a new sound, unique to and representative of his environment. He'd pick up the mantle and expand upon ideas that originated with electro-funk/gangster rap musician DJ Spanish Fly. The Memphis rap subgenre combined elements of boom bap with a gritty lo-fi aesthetic, featuring fast-paced hi-hats, 808 sub-bass, 808 cowbells, and double-time triplet rap flows. The DIY nature of these productions, often utilizing old 4-track cassette recorders, gave the early Memphis sound a grimy, low-budget aesthetic. Tommy's first album, entitled Memphis Massacre, released in '92. The melody on track 2 would easily fit in with a typical dark trap type beat of the 2010s. And the cowbell-centric melody on track 6 is very similar to music in the drift funk microgenre, which emerged in Russia during the late 2010s. A lot of what made Memphis rap unique was the unique set of motivations behind its creation. The artists weren't concerned with getting their records on the radio, and they weren't trying to drop the most lyrically proficient verses. Instead, their lyrics were bordering on stream of consciousness documentations of the goings-on within the respective neighborhoods. This gave the genre a strong sense of authenticity, and caused pioneers of the genre like Tommy Wright III to dub the style reality rap.
You know what I'm saying? But I know other people did, but to me it was more like just reality rap.
The Memphis scene's unconventional approach to hip-hop extended far beyond its style of lyricism, though. It was present in every aspect of its creation and distribution. During the 90s, sampling was much more common in hip-hop than it is today. As a result of the sample-centric nature of the genre, an unwritten code was born, stating that once a producer sampled a record, that record was off-limits to other producers. Violation of this code of conduct would carry with it the accusation of biting, which was widely regarded as a serious offense that would typically result in a substantial loss of respect among your peers.
Once it got into the 90s, just everything about what we stood for, the main rule and goal was biting is not allowed. That was a law.
However, in an utter act of defiance, Memphis rappers outright ignored this production-based dogma, and would routinely reuse samples that appeared on other songs, or sample other rap songs from the Memphis area. Here's an example.
Creeping up on these hoes with a motherfucking shotgun. I'm creeping up on these hoes with a motherfucking shotgun.
Memphis producers also chose a minimalist approach to production, opting not to chop or rearrange their samples like their contemporaries. Instead, their sampling technique consisted of simply looping a few bars from some soul, funk, or horror film scores. The music was raw and barely mixed, with heavy overblown bass, resulting in a sound that directly mirrors that of the SoundCloud rapper wave of 2015 to 2018.
Because I've heard from some people that it's a little distorted, like the way that it's recorded is distorted. That's on purpose.
Yes, yeah.
Why?
It's raw. It's raw, and it don't sound like anybody else.
Their sound was already so like unorthodox, and like they didn't really mix anything, you know? And I didn't know how to mix. So I thought like when you make beats, you just make the beat and that's it.
Memphis rappers were ahead of the curve in nearly every way. They were DIY musicians, recording in bedroom studios, and creating their own album art, decades before this would become a commonplace occurrence. In some instances, artists would even include phone numbers somewhere on their album art so that they could be contacted for performance bookings or collaborations. This was years before email was adopted by the general public, and over a decade before the rise of social media, though the general idea here is functionally the same as having an online presence, since the inclusion of a personal phone number removed the barrier between artist and fan, giving those interested the means to reach out and connect with the artist directly. Nowadays, Memphis artists are a lot more visible than they used to be, thanks in part to the advent of streaming, which helped to democratize music by reversing the decades-long trend of top-down music production and promotion, where industry giants would act as gatekeepers, severely limiting the visibility and accessibility to certain types of music. With the rise of Young Dolph, Key Glock, NLE Choppa, and Moneybagg Yo, the sound of Memphis hip-hop is as versatile as ever. And with the age of computing giving rise to digital audio workstation software like FL Studio, an artist no longer needs to rely on sampling and expensive studio time to make quality records. Now with only a few $100 and a little music production knowledge, producers can cook up their own original melodies from scratch and turn them into high-quality instrumentals in the comfort of their own home. The stylistic approach to modern rap music is often attributed to Atlanta-based influence, despite the fact that the Memphis sound predates Atlanta's. Memphis rap's influence extends to a plethora of hip-hop subgenres and microgenres, like mumble rap, cloud rap, trill wave, funk, and drift funk, as well as the more mainstream trap sound in general. And even though early Memphis pioneers have been overlooked and never rose to mainstream prominence on the same scale as a Drake, Jay-Z, or Kanye West, their influence permeates every facet of present-day hip-hop from mainstream to underground, and has arguably played the most significant role in shaping the sound of hip-hop today.
Jam at the beat, so we mixing them perfect.